goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
So what's happening, people? Welcome back to the Quad Pod, sponsored by Poseidon Strength and Adidas Wrestling. Make sure you're using our discount codes at checkout whenever you visit our sponsors. All the info is listed below. As always, we've got Robbie, Austin, Kevin. I'm Holmes. We appreciate everybody joining us for episode 21. Actually, this was my first ever football number. I wanted to be Deion Sanders. So 21, really good number. But please make sure that you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing. Get into the conversation with some comments, as plenty of people did last week, so we appreciate that. And we'll also get to one in a little bit here in the show. But make sure you guys you're sharing everything. Comment on things on social media. Reach out to us however you really want to. Get into any of the topics that we discuss. And like I said, tell us that, we're boomerish, like the comment that we'll discuss here in a second. Or tell us we have a great show, as some of you have also done. So we appreciate that. We're going to dig into, obviously, Bo Bassett and Melvin Miller to Virginia Tech. We'll talk about the national duels matchups, which were announced tonight on Monday, right before we jumped on here to record. The All-Star Classic matches. And then we also have LVWC on the docket that we're going to talk about, all the different developments that they have going on there. But obviously, as we always do, we weigh in before we get to the action. And my shout out is going to the one and only Frank Beasley. And that man is incredible. I was in the middle of the workday today and I get a text, and, I normally look at it on my watch and I see Frank Beasley pop up, and then I see what he texted me about, and it was bourbon. And he's like, not sure if you're a bourbon guy or not, but figured I would share this. And I will also be sharing the link to what he sent me in our below in our like comment section or whatever else, so that people can jump in on this. But it's a way that you guys can help out the program. Obviously, he sent me a really cool picture of one of the bottles that he also got, which I'll throw up on the screen right here so that everybody can see that. So it's really, really cool. It's obviously a cause for the team, but make sure you check that out. But it's a shout out to Beasley. Always been an A1 guy. Love talking to him, as well as his entire family and his wife. At one point, they opened up their house to us, fed us. I believe it was me and Spay and a couple other guys when I was back at Flow. So awesome family, awesome coach. Really appreciate him. So shout out to him for shooting me that text. And, I love the fact that he is now a head coach. It was something that we probably all saw coming at one point, but the man's doing the right thing, and, probably isn't as successful as he wants to be with the team that he has. But I think that he is an amazing coach, and more people should definitely be looking at his program. Robbie, I know that he had talked to you guys about it as well and sent you guys some of the stuff. What'd you think of it before you weigh in?
I think it's great. Frank has always been good about kind of thinking outside the box, and their whole premise is being uncommon, right? So an idea and Frank has a huge bourbon collection. He's an avid bourbon drinker, and so it fits with him very well. But they paired with a local, distillery to make a Mason wrestling bourbon, and there's a special tasting and like this whole shindig to go with it for the release. And it's cool. I like the idea of a different type of fundraiser. We've all seen and probably been part of golf tournaments and things like that. But I like him kind of thinking outside the box. Wyoming's doing a cornhole tournament this weekend. I thought that was kind of cool too. So just different things to get people involved with the team and get them interacting. I don't know how many people will be interacting with the team at a drinking thing, but I'm sure some of them will be there.
For sure.
It's
a really cool concept.
This is a fantastic event, and I'm super pumped for it. And I just love the idea that someone was like, we should get a whole bunch of wrestlers together and feed them bourbon. What could go wrong?
Apparently we don't remember how things happen at Cineblaze on Saturday nights.
Oh, it's always a trip.
You're not supposed to remember what happens on Saturday nights after the tournament.
Generally,
that's the exact goal, is you're not supposed to remember
when everyone's done.
Everyone's done completely. Well done. Yes. But Robbie, go ahead. Time for your weigh in.
All right. I just want to give a quick shout out, and Bash kind of hit on it yesterday on their show about the Virginia Tech creative department. And just as a as a department within wrestling and just as a whole. I think Virginia Tech does a really good job with their creative stuff. But wrestling, I mean, it starts at the top with Ethan Agigi, their SID / creative director for the team, and they've got just a Rolodex of fantastic videographers, content creators. Henry, Ava, Jordan was there for a while. Carson Henry's their women's basketball one, but he's a wrestling guy, wrestled and coached in Minnesota, so he still helps out. Levy Ventura does a lot with them as well. So they just have just an incredible staff that keeps them on the forefront of everything, and they do a phenomenal job with it. And it's really kind of made other departments step up their game, even within the ACC, but nationally too. It's other teams are kind of stepping up and seeing the impression that they're making and how much goodwill they're garnering with their social media presence. So shout out to them.
Awesome. Austin, you're up.
I'll give 2 quick shout outs here. First one, yeah, I believe it was yesterday, was National Coaches Day. Saw a lot of rounds going around on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And, just shout out to all the coaches out there. Us guys, we know what sacrifices they go through, and obviously putting family, sacrifices they make to their family and everything just for the greater good of the team. And, they get a lot. And, when things are bad, fans are not very nice to them as you go on some of the forums and things like that. So they're put up with a lot of BS, and, it's well deserved that they get at least a day of recognition here. Second quick thing is shout out to whoever creates the weather. It's been great weather out there. A lot of outdoor practices going on. I saw American was hosting one today. They were doing like cool giveaways, like little trivia things. Coach MC Joey Dance was on the mic, on the speaker there, and
that would be a perfect DJ name though.
Yeah,
Joey Dance, yeah. MC
Joey
Dance. Yeah, maybe there's a new career after he's done coaching. We'll have to talk to him.
Joey
Dance
just a cool
on
the 1s and 2s.
It's a cool way to get exposure to your program at these different universities, putting them outside, front and center in the courtyard, in the quad, whatever it is, and just getting people involved, asking questions, getting notices, and maybe they come to a match or two and they fall in love with it. So it's just anytime you get eyeballs in your program, it's good. So shout out to.
And I think that's
everyone else doing
especially true at schools that don't have as big of a athletic presence. Like American is very much an educational institution that happens to have some sports teams. So getting the program exposure in front of the entire student body is big. VMI does a similar thing. I think it was Mason had a practice in the library last year. Just different things to get in front of the student body and get people involved.
Yeah, shout out to Mother Nature, I guess, and
Mother Nature, Lord above.
MC Joey Dance, aka the ankle roll.
Yeah, there we go.
Here you go, DJ ankle roll. Kevin, on to you.
All right. I'm sure I've shouted this out before, but we're actually at the moment of truth. The 2025 Veteran World Championships are going on this weekend into the weekend. My buddy Matt Becker, who I coach the Forest Hills Central Youth Club with, is wrestling at 70 kilograms in Group D for freestyle. So shout out to him. Helped work with him a bit and helped get him ready for that. So I'm excited for him. You've also got, let me see here, Group E. Sorry, I'm floating around looking for, there he is, Jeff Anderson in Group E for Greco-Roman at 88 kilograms, another guy we worked out with. He's an absolute stud. Let me go. What else do we got? And then shout out to a couple other dudes who are wrestling in the Veteran World Championships that people might not be aware of. Ben Vombauer, my understanding is that is the father of Vance Vombauer. And he's an absolute beast. He's wrestling Greco-Roman and he's wrestling freestyle in Group B at 62 kilograms. Dude just wants to get out there and scrap, so why not? Also shout out to Tyler Graff and Brandon Preeson, both wrestling at 62 kilograms in Group A.
I would not want to run into either of them.
Nope.
Yeah, we have 3 people at 62 kilograms for the United States. Evidently, that's okay. Jonathan Sheev is out there as well. So, Hey, good times. Lots of wrestling coming up. If you get a chance to check it out, go ahead and do. It is on Flow Wrestling. So,
Where is it at this year?
it is at Hungary, Tatabánya, Hungary, to be precise. So, yeah, should be very
Beautiful
cool.
this time of year.
That's
Tatabánya.
Good old
that's
Tatabánya.
that's what we hear. Yeah. So shout out again to Mother Nature.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would not want to be running into any of those guys at 60. Was it 62 kilos? Yeah, no,
Yes.
thanks. Not happening.
Even at my weight, I wouldn't want to run into them at 62 kilos.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. So let's get to our topics. This first one, we're gonna dive back into it only because of one of the comments that we had last week, and I'm not gonna read all of it, but just feel like there was like kind of a lost in translation of what we were saying about the RAF matchups that have been announced. And the one in particular that the main topic was about was I guess the influencer match, the content creator match. And one, I honestly didn't even remember that this match had happened. I believe at Beat the Streets, and Caden won like, what is it, 21-7. So a lot of people have referenced that. No big deal. This is obviously freestyle and everything else. But the premise of our conversation was more so that RAF has been kind of under the umbrella of being our next big professional wrestling league. And they are taking the best things, at least in our estimation before this had all come out. We were saying they were taking the best things from some of the best leagues that we have, right? Like putting cards together and the fanfare, the ambiance of it, the venues, all the different things that they had, right? The belts, the title belts, and everything else, things that we are seeing come from like mainstream sports, or at least mainstream professional leagues like the UFC. So, while people were like, whoa, Yanni's a world champion at RAF, it's only one match. It was a setup for the bigger storyline. So I completely understand that. Now, what we were digging into before is the Jake Paul route in building these cards with these content creators. And again, it has zero to do with who the people are, because I can care less who they are, how many followers they have. But I think what we were digging into is the what we're hearing from Willie or Izzy or anybody else that's part of it is that this is a premier wrestling league. And we were just saying that having guys that aren't premier wrestlers might not be the path or is it the path that we want to go down in the community, where we're trying to build something that is sustainable for our higher level wrestlers that doesn't involve the world championships. And this commenter obviously was great because it did point out we do have a lot of top tier premier events where we see our guys. However, a good portion of these events are concentrated in one spot or one area or one set of months throughout the year. It's not a spread out thing like RAF would truly be. So my stance on it was I didn't feel like this matchup was the best use of time, and that these guys would be honestly better served making content throughout the entire event than they would be wrestling in it. Obviously, you're going to see content leading up to it, which will involve them. But I also felt like they would be better creating the content, doing the social media, and being in that lens. And then I believe, and I don't want to speak for him, I'll let Kevin speak here in a second, but I know Kevin had said something about older wrestlers coming in. And it wasn't the older wrestlers, it wasn't that issue. It was more so the fact that the older wrestlers they had brought in, while they did have big names, were guys that had been out of the sport for a very long time and probably didn't have the recognition of a Nico Megaludis, who just got added to the next RAF card. And even though he is a retired guy, he recently retired. So that was kind of the premise of the conversation. And Kevin, I want you to kind of chime in here, because I think part of this person's comment was because of what you had said about like Lance Palmer being part of that first one.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was sick last week. I don't even remember what the point I was trying to make was. I just think it's funny that the commenter was bringing up all these other events, and it's like, so the idea is that we should see less good wrestling? Is that what your argument is? Is have less talented athletes on the card? Look, they're doing a new thing, right? And when you do a new thing, you're going to experiment with some different things. You're going to try something out. You're going to see what works. And if at the end of the day, some of these guys bring in some extra views and keep this being a legitimate, viable, long-term thing for athletes to make money and have success, great. But it's very hard to sit here and say, yeah, you can claim to be, this huge long-term, like, potentially worldwide goal for wrestlers all across the world, and for this to become the next big thing, but also have, some of these less, good wrestlers on it, right? Like, now hypocrites very rarely call themselves out in the moment, right? You're never going to see somebody be like, we're going to be the best in the world, and also this is also the best in the world, but it's super clearly not, right? But I don't know. I think if it works, great, and I think maybe I don't remember if I'm misrepresenting my point from last week. I apologize. If I was trying to make a point, I think around the old wrestlers, I think it was probably just around the fact that, hey, at least they have a following, and at least they have a name in the sport, and at least they have something, noteworthy to point to, something nostalgic where you can be like, man, remember when Darian Cruz did the unthinkable? That was cool. Let's see what he does here. Or remember when Lance Palmer beat Brent Metcalf? Shit, we just brought up two dudes who beat Brent Metcalf. That's how damn good Brent Metcalf was, right? When he lost it all, people were like, holy shit. Did you see what happened? And those are big things. All that being said, I guess I somehow got to the point where Brent Metcalf needs to be on RAF3. That's kind of my next point.
Make that happen.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that one.
Yeah, I'll watch that. That'll bring in views.
Yeah, and yes, because he has truly been around the sport for a very long time. He's been in the coaching chair, even though he hasn't been on the mat himself. It's the same thing of like Jake Varner. I feel like for me, it was like seeing, Lance Palmer or Caldwell come back into wrestling after being so far removed from it was maybe the premise. Robbie, your thoughts?
Hold on. Brent Metcalf versus Jared Frayer. RAF3.
There you go.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I would like to see that.
Or
Freyer's
against
a
Terry
madman.
Brands.
I think you're more likely to get Frayer.
Yeah.
He's got a better tan too.
And better hair.
True.
Yeah, much better. Freyer's got great hair. He's a lucky fella.
Fired.
Lucky fella. I don't know. I guess my whole thing with it is, like, if you want to be the pro league, then you need to represent yourself as a pro league, and that's the kind of matches you need to book. I understand, like, wanting to get viewers, great. We got to start somewhere, but we gotta pick a lane. If you want to be the legit pro league, then that's what you need to market yourself as, and that's the matches we need to have. If you want to be a competitive league that has cards, that sometimes has entertaining matches and people who you wouldn't expect to see, cool, that works too, because there's a market for that and people will watch that. But you can't be both. You gotta be one or the other.
Yeah. Austin, any thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, Holmes. This may have been a marketability missed opportunity here. These guys have a lot of followers, and I think they get more eyes if those guys are behind the scenes at weigh-ins, at the final workouts, and maybe backstage before, just because RAF, their marketing, and Willie says all the time, their marketing isn't very great. They're pushing out these cards that are like, okay, yeah, we got the card, but there's no build up to it really. It's not really getting out there. So I think having guys with a lot of these followers behind the scenes doing some of these extra things, it'd get more traction that way, I think.
Yeah.
Talk to Virginia Tech's creative department.
Yeah, you need to.
The thing, and I watched Bosch and Willie, and Bosch said, if you have half a brain, you understand why they made this matchup. And it's like, eh, they didn't make this matchup based off wrestling prowess. So I guess, consider me having half a brain, but I've been doing this for a very long time in the media scope. And when I look at somebody that has a ton of followers and it's based more off of content than championships, I'm going to want to push them into the thing that they're already doing very well. Right. And I feel like these guys, as you guys said, it'd be awesome to have them behind the scenes. And who knows, maybe this is a play to have them behind the scenes doing things. But I'd much rather have them creating more content instead of being on the mat and training for the match. I'd rather see these guys doing interviews with people and talking to the guys that are on the card. And I mean, hell,
Putting together matchups, like have
yeah,
them
like
select a matchup and make it their spotlight match. Like,
exactly, working with RAF in that lens as opposed to being featured on a card, I think would have just been maybe a better play, right? And I mean, I watched Caden's video, or at least watch a good portion of it from the first RAF, where if you notice, he's walking around and there's a ton of people stopping him for photos, autographs, all these different things. He has a great following. I think that's awesome. Capitalize on that from a content standpoint and not so much from a standpoint of people wanting to see him compete, because I guarantee you there's more people that want to see his content than want to see him compete. And that isn't saying anything bad about him. I think he was an awesome competitor. I think he did very well with his career, certainly better than mine. So I'm not knocking him on any of his wrestling. I'm just saying that off the mat is where his celebrity has probably grown the most. And I even gave him props for the podcast that they used to have. That used to be great content. And I feel like that is the realm that I would much rather see him in. So no, we weren't knocking RAF for bringing on less talented wrestlers. From my standpoint, it was a wrong path for me. I think these guys should be brought into the RAF landscape, but they should also be brought in to create content and promote the event instead of wrestle in it.
especially in a situation where Willie, who's deeply involved with it and part of the production. Like if he is acknowledging the fact that they can improve with marketing and coverage. Like
and
we
he
know
mentioned
there's
he
an
wasn't
issue.
completely sold on it from the jump
Yeah.
either. He's a wrestling purist, as he calls himself, right? Like, I don't mean to put that in quotes. I'm saying like that is literally what he said on the show. So he wasn't completely sold on it initially either, and had to wrap his brain around why these guys were competing against each other as well. So no, not knocking RAF, but like I said, probably better opportunity to have these guys with a camera in hand and creating content to do the promotion. Kevin, I know you had something else.
Well, I was just laughing at the idea that, not understanding why they're on the card and not liking it is mutually exclusive things, right? Like we all understand it. We're talking directly to it. I don't have to like it. But hey, the other part that I just wrote down was, it feels professional wrestling-esque, right? It feels, but not in like the good way. It feels like WWE-esque. And like maybe it's easy to forget that like Eric Bischoff is a dude who's like involved in all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a place in WWE where you have like, oh, there's promos, and then there's a big match, and then there's an intercontinental title or a tag team thing, and then all of a sudden it's like the comic relief wrestler comes out and the crowd boos him, and then somebody hits him with a chair, and then it moves on. It's like that's to me kind of what this match is. It's the almost comic relief, and I feel shitty saying it because like I don't mean it like in a disrespectful way. I mean it in like, hey, this is the thing that's going to draw some eyes and get people excited and have some fun for a little bit. I'm sure they're going to cut fun promos, and I'm sure they're going to be really charismatic and good in them. But it's definitely not why people sitting here on a podcast weekly are signing up to watch that.
Yeah,
I'm signing up to watch 50 Cent solve crimes.
There you go. Yeah, and obviously we probably sound like the fun police. It's more so just it's more an accountability thing in my mind of like, this is what we said we were going to get, yet we get something different. And again, it's misplaced responsibilities in my mind, and as coaches that we all are, or managers in our normal day jobs of, managing people. It's like, that person's good at this, let's have them do this. So yeah, just what it is. So I
That'd be
know
good.
it was said that it was a boomerish takes from us, but I think it was just misunderstood of like where we were going with it, but is what it is. I honestly, I love the comment, because it forced us to dig even more into what we were speaking on and having I guess, a bit of a nuanced conversation, without bias or anything, as we tend to do on the show. Honestly, when we do let our biases show, it. But no, we try not to do that. Anyway, let's move to national duels matchups, and the brackets are now out. Flow released them tonight on their selection show, and there's some pretty good round one matchups that we have in here. Robbie, I'm gonna come to you first. What obviously the ACC teams that are in here, you're probably gravitating towards them, but like, what are some of your favorite maybe individual matches in these duels, or what are some of your favorite duels?
I think Northern Iowa, NC State's going to be a fantastic duel. I think they're pretty evenly matched. They've both got talent up and down the lineup, and that's just going to be hard nosed fist fight duel, and
Yeah.
it's going to be very entertaining. Virginia Tech Minnesota is a fun matchup. Lehigh Nebraska is, I think, a sneaky good matchup. I mean, we've been talking about how good Lehigh is going to be this year, and their depth down low. I think that's going to be a really good early test for Nebraska, who's coming off of a fantastic finish and has very, very high expectations. But Lehigh is going to be a very scrappy team, and I think that's going to be, potentially a lot closer than a lot of people are thinking.
Yeah, we could get Hardy versus Stanich right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Before we even dig into that, Robbie, I know you had a tweet pulled up. I'll let you kind of dig into it before we even dig into like individual matchups. So I know we have a little bit, but it was a good point. So I kind of want to give you the floor to make it
Yeah, I mean, Tony
present.
Rotundo, who is, one of the preeminent wrestling photographers, happens to be based out of Raleigh now, so I get to see him quite a bit. He made the point that, before we start breaking down lineups and talking about matchups, recognize that it's very early in the season. There's a very high likelihood that we're not going to have full lineups, and that coaches will avoid some matchups that they don't want to have early in the season. And that's something that we talked about when they first released the date for the national duels being so early in the year, is that, you know, you look at a team like Cornell, who's gray shirting half their team, and another part of their team isn't starting till second semester. Like, it's not very beneficial for them. Like, they, on paper are a fantastic team, but they're not going to have their full lineup in the second week of the season. Um, and then we talk about, Stanich and Hardy out of the gate. Are we actually going to see that? Who knows? Like, we don't know what we're actually going to get, and how the hope is that with the money on the line, coaches are more likely to pull the trigger on those matches because there's an incentive. But is it worth, they have to justify if it's worth the potential of winning the money versus burning that early season matchup that they don't want to have.
Yeah. And it sucks that that's our reality, right? Where
Mhm.
we're going to dig into these matchups as if they are going to happen. Certainly, there will be more developments, and when we get closer to the actual national duels, we'll make picks and discuss things more in depth. But I want to discuss the matchups as like as they are on their face, right? These are the guys that should be in these weight classes. These are the potential matchups that we're going to have, because we should be promoting those big time matchups. This is why the eyes should be on the national duels, and why people should be interested in the national duels, is because we have so many premier teams in here that we can see some top level guys hit early in the season outside of the All-Star Classic, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the show. But we can see these matchups early. And for me, when I look at the bracket, I'm like, man, I wish, and we had a chance to, and I understand why it's like this. Obviously, there's seeding, and people are drawn into the tournament. However, the top four seeds are the only ones that are seeded, but they had a chance but completely rig it to put Iowa versus Northern Iowa. That was something that I think a lot of us have wanted to see for a very long time.
Or Iowa, Virginia Tech. I'd also like to see
that was the next one. Or Iowa versus Virginia Tech. Duels that we know we probably won't ever get. So if I'm making these matchups, that's my quad. Like those teams are all together. That is something that we're probably not going to see during a season. So Iowa, Northern Iowa, Virginia Tech, they're all in the same area of the bracket, all in the same quad, because I want to see what happens when those teams duel, because we know we're not going to get those dual meets. We know we're not going to get them during the season. It's been said it's not going to happen. So when I looked at the bracket, I was like, man, there was a chance to do the greatest thing for all of us. But as you said, there's a lot of really great matchups. That Lehigh Nebraska duel is the one that I gravitated towards right off the bat. And I think that one will be one of the best. Kevin, over to you. Anything that stuck out to you, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is?
I mean, realistically, the first thing that jumped out to me was Arizona State, Michigan will be a quick duel. I mean, I am excited. Like I like everything about Arizona State as far as the colors and the coaches and the like.
You said the colors.
Hey, maroon and gold, baby, great colors. Arizona's fun. Been to the campus; it's a great place.
Tempe's a beautiful scenery.
Beautiful scenery. But I'm excited to see Pearson Manville. I'm excited to see Larkin. Outside of that, they don't have a fantastic roster, so that'll be a quick one. But as far as like better duels, competitive duels, I'm very excited that Iowa and Missouri get to wrestle again. The last time these two competed in the national duels, there was fireworks immediately. What was that? Waters and Gilman.
Gilman.
Yeah. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, different names, but still, I'm sure some bad blood between the two programs. Aiden Sinclair and Ferrari is going to be one hell of a match at 184. I was checking out. It'd be cool if we get Seth Mendoza out there against Nasir Bailey at 141. I don't know what their plans are with him, or kind of if this impacts the freshman redshirt sort of thing, but that's a possibility. And
that's a question I would like clarification on. Does this count as one event for the freshman purposes?
I would assume
so.
Yeah.
This would be one, yeah.
That's an opportunity to get, one of those really good freshmen some damn good matches, because you have an entire weekend of top flight duels.
Yeah. This would be one, because
I would love to see some red shirts.
Ben DeVino was in the Ohio State lineup last year in Nashville, and I believe he wrestled both days. Not every single match. I know they went back and forth, but he wrestled both days, and it only counted, I believe, towards one, because it was one event that they had.
So
I know they go by dates, but
yeah, you may see some red shirts getting some action here that bolster some lineups.
Yeah,
that'd be good. I mean, Cam Steed, Patrick Kennedy at 174 is going to be a good one. Like, there's going to be good matches top to bottom in this one. So I am very excited to see Iowa and Missouri get it on.
Yeah. Austin, the Cornell angle to this, and first of all, I love the Billy Madison reference.
Thank you. Just watched it recently.
I know.
No, they didn't. But I bet you can imagine what it would be like if they did. Huh?
Oh, love it. Billy Madison will derail any show. Love it. Austin, from the EIWA lens in this, obviously we've got Cornell and Lehigh on opposite sides of the bracket. They're very different situations. And I know Piles posted that, Knox was going to be basically gray shirting, going to the community college there, as most guys do. We've seen Vito.
That's what everybody does.
Other guys do it as well. Outside of
there.
Yeah, outside of
everybody
Yanni.
but Yanni. I mean, that's what they do.
What are you looking forward to, I guess, from these two programs? Obviously very different storyline because of who the firepower Lehigh has coming back after their red shirts, but then Cornell not having all of their guys in their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Cornell, I think. we're going to see how much depth they have, right? Because I think we're going to have 4 or 5 starters. I think it's 4 coming back second semester only, so they're going to be not even on the team, not even listed in school for this event. So just kind of see who is maybe the next man up if one of those guys were to get hurt or graduate coming up here in the next year or two. Just see some of those young guys with maybe not a ton of mat time step in and, get a big win or look real good. And, future looks bright there, obviously, with great recruiting classes from Cornell. Yeah, Lehigh, they are very good. I'm just not sure if we're going to see Stanich. I'm not sure if we're going to see Nate Taylor. I'm hoping we do. Obviously, Nate Taylor is about a year out from I think it was a torn ACL.
Taylor Ferrari, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. It'd be a great test for him. It'd be a great test for Ferrari because Taylor's a big boy, right? So,
and it'd probably be like the earliest ranked matchup that Ferrari has had in a long time. He went basically almost the entire year last year without seeing any like ranked competition until like Big 12s.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's been a while since Ferrari's seen regular season ranked opponents. So and him moving up a weight, I think he's just gonna need to feel a guy like Taylor who's on the bigger end of the weight class, just seeing what Ferrari's capable of and what he can do against a big guy like that. And you're gonna see Crookham and Van D if Van D's out there, 2 all Americans battling it out. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of good matches. And Lehigh, I just know Lehigh has a few question marks in the middle of their lineup there. So probably see a few different guys coming in there anywhere from 49 up to 74, maybe 84 even, just to see, who's going to break that gap open. We usually don't find out until end of February, early March. So maybe this will be a good stepping stone for one of those guys to, make a name for themselves and solidify themselves as a starter.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Illinois Little Rock match, I think it goes in the same vein as Cornell of like wanting to see what kind of depth Little Rock has after losing 2 very big hitters, right? It's specifically to Iowa. And could you imagine if they were to hit in that second round, right? Like, which is possible. Little Rock beats Illinois and Iowa beats Missouri, and then you have a Iowa versus Little Rock match, right? So there's a ton of different storylines here, and that I think we've definitely kind of glossed over a little bit. That Northern Iowa NC State match, we can see some pretty big ones. I feel like out of every lineup, or at least every matchup that we have, that Northern Iowa NC State matchup is where I feel like the firepower will be there for both teams.
Yeah.
You don't see either one of those coaches really pulling guys out or protecting seeds or anything like that, right? It's very rare that we see that happen from these coaches. If you're healthy, you're going to go. And I feel like that could honestly happen in that duel.
Volker
and if you're not healthy, you might still go.
Yeah, just slap a brace on it and call it good.
Yeah, rub some dirt on it and get out there. Any other matchups? Any other teams that you guys are looking forward to seeing at national duels?
I would like to see Minnesota and Wyoming hit, and I think that's definitely possible. I would like to see Branch and Egham wrestle about the theft of Jorge Volk. Just because I think there's some bad blood there, and I'd like to see how that goes.
There's a match for RAF too. Get those 2 coaches.
Honestly, anytime you can get Oklahoma State and Iowa against each other, that's always fun. And you know what? If you could get, I would like to see a semifinals with Michigan versus Ohio State and Iowa versus Oklahoma State. I think that would be a fun way for this to go.
I think Virginia Tech, Ohio State match up well, and they've been doing home and homes the last few years, and they didn't do it this year because of the national duels. So getting that matchup again would be fun. And that would be a very competitive duel.
Yeah. I like Virginia Tech and Nebraska, and then winner gets the Bassett. Maybe they'll flip back to Nebraska. Nebraska wins that one. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, why don't we jump to that? Bassett and Melvin Miller. We've talked national duels, and Austin with a good segue of these guys committing to Virginia Tech, and we talked about it last week when Melvin Miller released his top four. We were pretty confident that that was the top four for the whole family. Lo and behold, it was, as they commit to Virginia Tech. And um, Robbie, I believe, was that you that put the screenshot of what Bo Bassett's mom said in our group today about how all three boys liked it. Obviously, their youngest son isn't committing anywhere yet, but that was telling, right? Where all three boys are comfortable with being, not just one or two. It was a family decision. Um, Robbie, I'm coming back to you on this. Bassett and Miller to Virginia Tech. First, talk about the program. You know Virginia Tech very well, but secondly, talk about the fit and what your thoughts are on the commitment.
I think it's a fantastic fit, and I mean Virginia Tech was legitimately the final two with Iowa and the initial decision for Bo, and they've been pretty straightforward. Like legitimately, I mean they can't come out and say it's a 3-for-1 deal because that's not how recruiting
Mm-hmm.
and commitments work. Like it can be assumed, but it's not. Clearly nothing's set in stone. There's no promises. That's not allowed. Everybody knows this,
Yeah.
right? But the school of thought was always that these three brothers are not going to separate, and they're very likely kind of a package deal with the number two recruit from this year with Bo, number one recruit for next year with Melvin, and then pretty high recruit with Keegan the following year, correct? Or is he two? Yeah,
I think he's
28.
2 years younger, maybe.
But regardless, he's going to be a pretty highly rated recruit as well. So it's always kind of been thought that they're going to be together and that the fit was important with all of them and that they all felt comfortable and felt that the staff and the team was the right fit for all of them. From what Mom said, there was only two schools that they all felt comfortable and all felt good about, and Virginia Tech was one of them. I think there was some misunderstanding with Melvin's top 10 list because I think Virginia Tech stopped pursuing them once Bo committed to Iowa because the thought process was that they were all just going to go to the same place and it wasn't worth the resources to continue that if it wasn't actually going to happen. But as soon as Bo decommitted, I know they put on a full court press and they were very high on Bo the whole time and very high on Melvin the whole time. And it's I think it's a good fit lineup wise. I think it's a great fit culture wise. We talk about team as a family a lot, and I think there's a couple programs that come to mind that really embody that. UNI is one, and Virginia Tech is another one where I think it's the connection there is kind of palpable when you get in the room that it is truly a brotherhood and that it is truly a family. And I think that's was the feeling that was important to them, and also knowing that they're going to be able to reach their wrestling goals there. I mean, clearly you have Makai who broke through for the first title. Caleb's been won a national title and two-time national finalist and coming in preseason ranked number one again. So they've shown that the program has been built enough that they can reach those goals. And now coming through with two giant recruits and giant signings does nothing but solidify where that program is and makes them kind of step up a tier in competitiveness, um, at least in the recruiting game with the top schools.
Yeah. And for the comments about ducking the toughest
That's fucking stupid.
competition, it's
I'm
dumb.
not going to sit here and have the ACC be talked down about. Fuck you guys. It's a
Yeah, and I
competitive
mean,
conference.
and
It's got three top 15 teams. Virginia Tech constantly seeks out top competition. They face top 10, top 15 Big Ten teams every year. They go to CKLV every year. They're not ducking competition, and these two certainly aren't people that duck competition either. So shut the fuck up with that argument. That's stupid.
yeah, I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, yes, the Big Ten the premier wrestling conference? Sure. Yeah, I don't think there's any argument in that ever. They have the most teams, they get the most allocations. The grueling Big Ten has been the headline for forever. But because a guy doesn't pick a Big Ten school doesn't mean that they are ducking top competition. It means that they went to the place that fit them best. That's what that means. And yes, I understand completely that in this day and age, when it comes to sports, there's a lot more than best fit for culture that goes on. There's money, there's resources, there's all the things, all the above. RTCs is, before it was NIL, it was what the RTC could do for the athlete. So spare me on the ducking tough competition, because last time I checked, I understand that Bo is certainly older, but he's been wrestling senior level guys for a very long time. So spare me on the doesn't want to wrestle tough competition. There are such thing as good coaches in every single conference, every single one, right? Like, because here's the thing. If he would have commit to David Taylor and Oklahoma State, if they would have commit to David Taylor and Oklahoma State, none of that talk would have been there. I mean, maybe some of it, but not as much. But because he goes into the ACC, it's like, oh, the ACC is easier. They only have this many teams. Guys, it's dumb, because you're only looking at their conference tournament and not their entire schedule. And that's the stupidity of all of the comments of ducking tough competition and this, that, and whatever, because you can seek out tough competition throughout an entire season. You might not get it in conference as much as the Big Ten, but there are, if people truly sent their number ones the way that they used to, none of that shit would be talked about. But guys aren't being sent to the Midlands anymore as much as we would like to, or the Scuffle, which go listen to my conversation with Kyle Rochelle about the Scuffle. He talks about it in our interview. It's on our channel. I asked him about it specifically. So spare me this tough competition. Wrestling's hard no matter what, guys. Certainly Big Ten is tougher than most of these other conferences because it has a concentration of some of the best guys in the country. But if that was true, then they would win every single national title around. So spare me on that. Kevin, your thoughts on, everything we've talked about.
There's some bad teams in the Big Ten, believe it or not.
There's
a couple. So, it's not a
several that NC State and Virginia Tech all finished ahead of last year. It's
right.
Weird.
And probably don't put on their schedule, right? Like they don't go for those ones. They go for the good ones. Anyway, what are we talking about? The Bassetts, Virginia Tech?
Bassett, Virginia Tech, the fit, the culture.
Dude, I'm super pumped. So I remember what we talked about last week about this. Like we talked about how, hey, you know what? Maybe actually Virginia Tech, come to think about it, is the best place for them to get wrestling right away, get in the lineup quicker, to get tough competition immediately, right? If it feels like it's the right place for the whole family and that's kind of their prerogative at this point, like even better. Hey, maybe we're sitting here being jerks, being like, oh, Bassett leaving Iowa. What are they going to do? They want more money. They want a plane to fly all over the place. They want all this stuff that everyone else is getting. And then they go to Virginia Tech. Maybe the whole time it was just a fit thing. And they were like, you know what? I don't like the way that this feels anymore. It's possible, right? It's possible. So anyway, I'm happy for Virginia Tech. I'm happy for Coach Robbie. I'm happy for that community. It's just wild to think that, my whole memory of Virginia Tech as a program becoming like even on my radar was when Brent Metcalf was going to go there for Terry Brands. And then that was the first time it occurred to me like, oh yeah, they actually probably do have a college wrestling program. I never knew that until now. And then everybody immediately bailed and went to Iowa. And it was like, oh man, it's too bad that Virginia Tech thing didn't work out. And how here we are.
It was almost the death knell of that program too.
Right.
They had it on the chopping block.
And 22 years later, here we are, and they're kicking ass and taking names, and they're taking them, straight out of PA. Isn't that where the Bassets are from, Pennsylvania? Yep. Yeah. So bringing them down to the ACC and keeping that conference deep and tough, so.
You can't forget the entrance of DJ Joey Dance, though.
Yes, that's true. That helped as well. And I also would like to know what their majors are going to be. I think we should announce that, not now, but maybe at the appropriate time when, they declare it. That might be helpful. Yeah.
While we're
Evidently,
squashing
evidently
stupid
some people
shit,
don't know how majors work and like when that happens.
can
Was
we
that part?
squash one
Did
other
I
thing?
miss that? Was that part of a conversation?
Yeah,
It
somebody
was
was, yeah,
a
it
tweet.
was,
Yeah. And
Jesus.
now I'm like, declare their majors. I'm like, are you just saying that because like they're not going to school for like wrestling? Who the fuck goes to school for wrestling?
be a cool major though.
It would be a cool major. It doesn't exist.
We didn't come here to play school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
that's interesting. Declare so apparently when you commit, you declare a major. I mean,
There's a
I
lot of people who are kind of up in their feelings about them committing to a non-Big Ten or
yeah,
blue blood program. And there a lot of stupid comments have been made over the last few days. And one of them is that, they're getting Bill Bassett on staff. It's not fucking true. It's not. Just stop it. Like, one, it's not legal because Kevin Dresser got in trouble with that with David Carr, and Nate Carr is a fucking Olympian, so it's a little different. But
For that
like,
school.
yeah, and
for that school,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
Wrestler for that school. Yeah.
The whole thing is just like, I understand they've kind of brought some of the circus on themselves with how everything went, but like
Mhm.
the overreaction of some people to them signing with a school that they aren't big on, it's weird to me.
Forever be
Like,
weird.
I'm not getting all butthurt when somebody signs with Iowa over an ACC team. Like, it is what it is. If that's the right fit for the kid, it's the right fit for the kid. That's what should be important.
Yeah, if style wise it looks weird, then yeah, we can discuss that. But it's not like I'm gonna be like, shaking my fist because number one recruit didn't go to went to a school or didn't go to a school, or like, it's just dumb. Like, imagine being that connected to somebody, or at least like being that overjoyed or emotional about somebody you have zero connection with. I don't get it. I never will. Like, my nephew plays football at South Dakota. When he told me he was going to South Dakota, I was like, awesome, man. I'm proud of you. Go ball out. I didn't post about him doing that until he started making plays there. And he's my nephew. So like, people be like being one way or the other about where a kid goes is insane. So yeah, that will forever be weird. Austin, your thoughts on the, I guess, the Bassett recruitment coming to a close as of right now. Maybe we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves with, and not just because of them and how they changed their minds, but because of recruiting in general. The amount of people that change their mind and don't go to the school they committed to. I mean, I'm sure I know we brought it before. Kirkfleet had went to so many different schools, commit to so many different schools. But what is your thought on this finally coming to a close with Bassett and Melvin Miller headed off to Virginia Tech in a couple of years?
Well, according to one of the Penn State fans, they would not have been starters at Penn State anyway, so that's why they didn't choose there.
That's the
So
low hanging fruit whenever they don't choose
yeah,
Penn State.
that's like the best take I've seen so far. But yeah, it was, it was weird because there was a lot of hype behind this Iowa one, and then he commits to Iowa, and then obviously decommits is big news, and then like we've talked about the past few weeks, it was kind of radio silence on at least on his marketing side, right? We
Mm-hmm.
knew he took the visits, we knew where he was going, we kind of knew his top two, but pretty quiet compared to his last go around. Which I'm not sure if that was intentional or just kind of the way it was, but not there's anything wrong with that either. It's just a tale of how it happened the first time versus now, and um, I think it was a good move for them. I think I'm not sure if getting the magician there was is what helped seal the deal, but just pulling out all the stops for these guys and just thinking outside the box and getting creative with this it's really fun to see. Going back to Robbie's point about how creative that department is, and they're always thinking outside the box for these things, which is really cool. So yeah, it'll be fun to see, and it has potential to be one of these commitments where we look back 5, 6, 10 years from now and say, wow, that really changed Virginia Tech's program. They were right there knocking the door, and then these three brothers commit, assumingly these three brothers commit, and boom, now they're a perennial top 3, top 2 team, and we could always point to this recruitment and say that was the one that did it, so it could be pretty historic here coming down the road.
Yeah. And I was at Elite Eight. I mean, I'm wearing a Elite 8 t-shirt, but like I was there and I was around all of them the entire time. And I say that because not once did I see them, and it very well could have happened, right? Everybody was basically staying in the hotel that was attached to the venue. But not once did I see them talk to any coaches, right? Like it wasn't a trip to discuss anything, at least out in the open, right? It very well could have happened. It could have gone to dinner somewhere away from the hotel, whatever, whatever. But Frere was certainly there. The Bassetts were certainly there. You know, they could have had conversations. There were a number of wrestling coaches that were in that arena, in that convention center, and could have had conversations and everything else. But like, and that's to Austin's point of the marketing did kind of die down. I mean, hell, you know, we got the text from Robbie about it being Virginia Tech before it had come out. You know, and we were discussing how will they make this, you know, public, right? How will they make their announcement? And it was published like that. And it was like, well, shit, we were just talking about, you know, how it's Virginia Tech, and then it's posted and everything else. And it's completely different than their first announcement. So like all of these things have certainly tamped down, which I feel like people probably felt better about this time around. But like, it was also interesting to see that they didn't have, you know, the big announcement like they did the first time around with Flo being there and following them around and everything else that they did. So I feel like everything with them is a conversation, and it's an effort, and it's a planned out, thought out effort of how they're going to go about things. The subtlety in Bo's transition from his black and yellow Pennsylvania singlet at Fargo to the Virginia Tech singlet saw the subliminal message. If there was one, maybe it was just the picture selection or whatever else. But I will say that it was interesting to see the picture that they chose for all of it.
It's a good graphic.
It was really cool. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Honestly, I thought it was great. Any other thoughts? Are we ready to move on to All Star Classic? Cool. Let's head to that. Let me pull that up. So the matchups for All Star Classic are out, and the point that Mr. Rotundo made for national duels probably should stand here as well. As you know, we discussed before we came on here of like these matchups may change, and there are no Penn State wrestlers in this. And I know that people were like, "Where's all the Penn State guys? They're the best guys." Blah blah blah. And I will kind of tip my hat to Bosch. He was like, most of those guys are wrestling at the World Championships like the week before. So
Yeah.
that's probably not going to happen. They need a bit of a break, right? So, but
I will say that one of them initially was committed and then changed their mind.
yeah. So I think that the matchups we have are great, though. I think they're going to be very competitive matchups. Austin, come to you first. What matchups are you looking forward, or matchup are you looking forward to the most in this entire set of 10 that we have? And by 10, I mean the men's matches, by the way. I know that there are women's matches and some others that are in here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased here and go with my Lehigh guys, Shelton Seymour. I think he wrestled Ventresca last year at NCAs, right? And Ventresca won that one, I believe, right? So yeah, that's a nice rematch for him. And seeing Brignola out of the gate, had a great redshirt year last year, ranked number 11 right now. And besides Swiderski, who's not ranked, unless they're missing a ranking here, Brignola's the lowest ranked wrestler at number 11 in the All-Star match. Not sure if people
like 5.
Is that what it is? Okay, maybe there's a typo then here, but yeah, so it's interesting that you kind of go that low for a ranking. Maybe people skip. I'm not sure if people were skipped over or just said no, but good to see where he's at against a guy like Garvin. Brignola has a win over Julian Ramirez of Cornell last year, who Garvin beat in the blood round this year. For if that matters at all, not really, but just something to go by. And then yeah, I'd like that one. And I want to see the heavyweight too, Bastida. He was hurt last year, coming back, and I want to see Gadiali. I'm always going to butcher that name. Just seeing him in a Michigan singlet, and seeing what he can do again.
I think it's interesting, both the Michigan guys who are competing are transfers.
Yeah. I noticed that on the graphic that they put
Tay.
out today.
From North Carolina.
Yeah.
North Carolina schools, I should say.
Yeah. Trying to look, the matchup that I'm really looking forward to is Shawver versus Bird. And I believe the last time they wrestled, it was, I'm looking at it now, Bird won 6-5. So, and that was in January. So this should be a very good matchup between Shawver and Bird. Was that Big Tens that was at?
So
it would have had to have been, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Big Tens where that happened at. But I think that's where that happened at. I'm trying to look at it right now. No. Where did that happen at? No, it was during the duel. That was the Illinois Rutgers duel is when that happened. That was
January.
Like, it was January. So that was like, that was up like a couple months before Big Ten's even happened. Big Ten's was in March. What was I thinking about? But yeah, that was during the duel where Bird beat Shawver 6-5. But that's the one that I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, Bird is my guy. I called it last year that he was going to be the champion. He was the guy that I was taking, and I'm always going to ride with him. But like, Shawver's a gamer as well, and
in front of his home crowd too.
Exactly, and that's the big thing is like Jersey Mike's gets loud, they get crazy, and I'm looking forward to that one because just the temperament of Bird and how I know he'll probably antagonize the crowd a little bit, how they'll both really get into it. So I think that one's going to be a really, really good match. But then, that matchup at 285, I think will also be very good. Bastida coming back, wrestling Gadali. Those guys both coming off of injuries and kind of getting right back into it, I think is going to be really, really good. Claunch, your thoughts on any of the matchups for All-Star Classic?
Yeah, I am excited for Cardenas and Ty Waters. Waters, did he get hurt last year, or he redshirted, something like that, right? He was in the All-Star Classic, and then he was just like gone shortly thereafter.
Yeah, he was 49 last year too, right?
Yes.
This is his first time up at 57. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see Ty Waters in there and going after it with Daniel Cardenas. Simon Ruiz was super impressive last year. Like, kind of, I every time I look at the brackets, I'm like, oh shit, he was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited to see him get in there and see Lenny Pinto in a different shade of red. And then Joey Novak and Stephen Little at 197. I love that you got two guys from schools that don't get as much, publicity as maybe they should, getting after it right away. So that'll be fun. I feel like I'm literally just naming all of them now, which is kind of how this works because they're all
all-star.
Yeah, they're all great matches. So I'll leave it at that, except for one more, Jackson Smith and Zach Ryder. I'm excited to see that because Jackson Smith is a badass from Maryland, finally getting on the podium last year. And then Zach Ryder, like, not really the opposite, but like obviously big name recruit to Penn State, transfers to Oklahoma State, getting in the lineup there. I think he was a Magic Man kid anyway, right? Like, as far as that's how he came up. So, it'll be interesting for him to get into an actual big time college match and see how that goes. But yeah, those will all be very exciting.
Yeah. Robbie?
The big ones that stand out to me, I think Joey Novak and Stephen Little is going to be a really good match. They're both pretty scrappy guys, and that'll be a fun one. I like Eddie Ventresca and Sheldon Seymour. I think that'll be a good test for both of them. And I'm interested to see Lachlan McNeil, just kind of see how he looks at a different school and what that transition is going to look like. But,
well, he finally transitioned to a wrestling conference where he can actually wrestle.
They get some of that grind.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but the Big Ten is the premier wrestling conference. Fuck majors. We don't need them.
That's what Shane Sparks told me.
And
I love the Stanford guys. Daniel Cardenas getting a good match there with Ty Waters and Hunter Garvin, who is one of my favorite people in the ACC. He's hilarious. Brignola, I mean, like Austin kind of hit on it. Brignola is kind of a random outside of the top 10 guy, which is kind of a weird matchup for an all-star duel, but whatever. I mean, I like watching Hunter Garvin wrestle, so I'm good with that. But I think the match I'm most excited about is Novak and Little. And I will say that Henson was on the card initially against Shane Van Ness, and that fell apart. So now he's going to wrestle at Bill Farrell that weekend instead.
nice. The only one that we did not mention is that matchup at 141. And
Just gonna say that. Yeah.
I mean,
Badass match.
why did we not mention that? It could be
Well,
interesting, right?
I'm
Well,
still
one
of you guys
baffled
is
how
gonna say it.
Echemendia has any eligibility. I feel
That's
like he's
where
been
I was
wrestling
gonna
for
go with it,
19
Robbie.
years.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it.
This
I-
could have been a
I-
challenge match back in the day.
it has. I do not know how he has eligibility left. I don't. But on top of that, I don't feel like it's going to be very competitive. I feel like Jesse Mendez has. I mean, obviously he's a 2-time champion for a reason, but like, I don't feel like it's going to be that competitive. I am excited for the match, certainly, because I love watching Jesse Mendez wrestle, and I love watching him wrestle even more after seeing how his family celebrated his first NCAA title in the interview room and how they were partying already. So that made me a Jesse Mendez fan basically for life. But I don't really feel like the match is going to be that competitive between him and Echemendia because Jesse Mendez is Jesse Mendez. And hey, if I got to eat crow and it's a barn burner of a match, that's awesome. I would love being wrong in that direction of entertainment. But out of all of them, we didn't mention it. And I feel like we didn't mention it for a reason. I feel like it's just like Jesse Mendez is that dude. So it's going to be.
And nobody knows what
hard-pressed
to
to
make of
set that
Anthony
stuff.
Echemendia. Like
Yeah.
we haven't seen. So I'm looking at his wrestle stat now, and this is fucking mind blowing, right? So COVID year 2020 didn't wrestle attached. 21 wrestled attached for Ohio State. 22 was a redshirt year at Ohio State. That's the year that had all the issues, lost law and all that. 23 wrestled unattached, right? So that's his third year. 24 Iowa State was his All-American year. 25 last year Iowa State was 6-3. And now 26. So he's wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is his 6th season, but somehow has an unattached year in the middle of that transition between Ohio State and Iowa State. And that's not counting it against his eligibility somehow. Like I'm still baffled as to how he has an extra year, unless he picked up an injury year somewhere.
I think there's an injury year in there. Mostly he got injured last year.
There has to be. Yeah.
Them being teammates is probably the best case for this to have a storyline. Is they were both at Ohio State at one point together, so I'm sure they wrestled in the room and everything else. But the fact that he still has eligibility, still crazy though. Still crazy, even with a injury year in there.
What's even crazier is that he only has 45 total matches across all those years. That's wild. And like that's part of my take with him is like I don't know what to expect from him. Like on and off the mat, that's a whole other issue. But that's on the mat, he has such a small sample size. And like we've seen glimpses of potential. Like but we know he's got skill, like raw skill, and he's an All-American, but he's put one season together in his sixth season. Like he's put 1 year together. And, are we going to see a full season? Is he going to get hurt? Is he going to have other issues again? Like, what are we actually going to get out of him?
Yeah. Mendez beat him 6-4 at NCAAs in 2024. The year at Echemendia, I think he got 5th that year.
Yeah.
And then last year he was up at 49 because 41 was too much of a weight cut. Now he's back down to 41. So like exactly what you're saying, Robbie, like, is this going to be a big cut for him? Did he shrink down his body? Is the weight cut not going to be affected? But I agree with you. What are we going to get from him?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It was 2 years ago when he did place 5th. We were at NCAAs and I was interviewing after that. And he basically like the main first thing he got to was like, I'm not going to be back down at 141. I
Mhm.
do not want to do this ever again. And then last year, Dresser was like, sounds good, guys. You guys can all bump up. Just kidding. Cut those balls off. You're going back down. And Pinheiro wrestled pretty well for most of the season, but Anthony did not seem to like it. But here we are again, 2 years later, and wouldn't you know it, you're back down there. So
Pinheiro
yeah,
wrestled, I think, all the way up to like 165 last year.
he did.
Mm.
Yes, he did.
I think that was in Nashville, and and he wrestled, and I think he won all but one match where he was just, there was no way he was going to do anything. I don't remember who he wrestled, but he was just so much smaller. There was no way he was winning the match, but like he was all the way up at 65, wrestled at 57. So yeah, he should get first dibs on any spot he wants in a lineup from like here on out with what he sacrificed last year. But yeah, to see Echemendia back down at 41 after, and I remember that interview where it was just like, I'm out of here. I'm not going 141 ever again. And to be back down is like, what the hell happened in that year?
Well, and back down like before, like in an exhibition. Like, dude, you're here immediately.
Yeah.
We're not dicking around with these weights anymore. You're doing this first chance you can.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you get up in those big weight classes, the guys get bigger, and you're like, wasn't as much fun as I thought it was going to be. And he did get injured last year. He did end up getting hurt and was out for the rest of the season. So maybe that was it. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But like I said, I think that's a Mendez match through and through. The storyline there is that they were teammates at one point. But yeah, I think there's a lot of very good matches in here, and we'll be thoroughly entertained. We'll also be entertained by these women's matches too. There's, what is it? It looks like every single girl on this.
It's like every division is represented.
Yeah,
We
and
got
they're all
NAIA, we
number
got
one in their respective divisions, which is
D2.
awesome.
Is Grand Valley NAIA or D3?
D2, I believe.
D2,
D2?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
Sage
we've got
Mortimer, shout out. Let's go.
Grand Valley's
and
got two.
and
Mhm.
Katie Lang.
Katie Lang.
That's right.
But not KD Lang, Katie.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
important differentiation there.
Very, very important. But yeah, those matchups are really cool. To see a number one next to literally every single girl that is part of the women's matches, I think is going to be really awesome to see how they match
I
up.
also love that there's
Great.
another Ogun Sonya.
I love
Her
that
family's-
Latifah McBride's
family's
like,
awesome.
I'll be here. To be determined. Show up. I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
Someone put your foot on the line.
Don't matter
Frankie
who.
Forfeit.
Don't matter who.
I'm
Oh
not doing
man.
it.
So we're getting closer to wrestling, gentlemen. You're getting closer. I know we had a closing question. I still have not given it enough thought. So I don't know if you guys are ready for it or not. Maybe we can punt it to next week, but we will have more closing questions coming up. We will have more interviews. There will be more people that will jump on, and we'll do kind of a panel discussion, and we'll get them on as well. So, gentlemen, I've got nothing else. You guys got any other comments? Robbie, Kevin, Austin, any parting comments? Kevin usually has something, so I don't know if he's got a notepad full of things. So I know there's always something.
One of them I definitely can't say. I'll tell you guys afterwards. The other one though was I was just picturing like a montage video of like with Sarah McLachlan singing "I Will Remember You," and it's just all Bo Bassett tweets from like the whole like recruiting process. That'd be fun.
Oh,
So wait
man.
till Keegan goes to Pitt Johnstown. Really throws everybody off.
There we go.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, I am, and I know this was said before. I think Kevin said it before. I am hopeful that whoever tries to duplicate this marketing strategy or whatever they've done, that they don't mess it up, because it's, and I honestly don't think that the wrestling community will allow another one, though. So even if they deploy a good strategy and everything else, I honestly feel like people were like, who do you think you are, Bo Bassett? Like, knock it off. You know what I mean? But like, if you're gonna do it, have a good strategy. It it did get kind of long. It did get kind of long. However, I tip my cap to them because they had a better marketing strategy than some corporations that I've worked for. So, hat tip to them for what they've
Maybe
put
Bill
together.
could talk to RAF.
Listen, I'll tell you this. I hope, speaking of majors, I hope that
The
they get
marketing
into
major.
communications and marketing when they get to Virginia Tech. That is my hope. We're declaring majors. Go communications and marketing. I have a ton of fun doing my job. It's awesome. We're for a national brand. Come on over. When you're done wrestling, that is. So we'll see. We'll certainly see. But no, I think it's a great fit. Love Virginia Tech. Had a chance to talk to Frere when I was at Elite Eight. Man's awesome. Great tan, great hair, awesome family man. It was great to have a conversation with him and all the other coaches that were there, but it was awesome talking to Frere.
I want to be Jared Frere when I grow up.
Maybe you could be in for Halloween. Just cut your pants into capris, get a good tan, work on the hair. Yeah. Problem solved.
Get to be pretty for one day. That's all you get.
First time for everything.
Well, gentlemen, this was an awesome show. I had a ton of fun as always. Like I said at the top of the show, make sure you guys are checking out the George Mason stuff. We'll have more from George Mason too in the coming weeks, months, whatever it is. We're gonna try to push you guys into supporting some of these other programs as well. We'll obviously always discuss the Penn States, the Oklahoma States, the Iowas, the big time schools, but we also
just the
want to
Big Ten.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll and I say this.
They don't get enough.
Because and Oklahoma State's Big 12, by the way. But we certainly will talk
All
about
the
these.
same to me.
These, yeah, they're all big. I don't. Who cares? We certainly will talk about them, but like I want to make sure that we are talking about EIWA, ACC, and Big 12, Pac 12, whatever it is now, right? I want to make sure that we are
Somehow
talking
Northern Illinois is going there.
about. Conference realignment is the dumbest thing for anyone that is still listening at this point. It is the dumbest shit ever. Stanford should not have to book multiple duels to hit in a weekend because they have to go to the East Coast. So that is my rant on Stanford being in the ACC, specifically in wrestling, but in any sport.
Yeah.
I like having them.
It's awesome to have them, but I mean, from a scheduling standpoint, it's the shittiest.
It's stupid
thing.
as hell.
It's the shittiest thing, and it's so bad on the athletes, no matter what sport. I have a friend that played softball at Cal, and she's like, there's no way I would have had any passing grades if we played in the ACC when I was there. So it's just absolutely stupid and ridiculous. But
that's why they don't declare majors in the ACC. Too much travel. You can't get your schoolwork done. You don't need a major, right, Robbie?
I majored in school.
Oh man, incredible!
It's not geography. The Atlantic Coast Conference with Pacific Coast schools.
Yeah.
The A stands for all now. It's the All Coast. That's what it is. But no, we appreciate you guys watching, listening, commenting, sharing, liking. Am I missing any of the ing words here? It's always awesome. There you go. Subscribing. It's always awesome to talk with these gentlemen and have some fun. Make sure you guys are visiting our awesome sponsors. We have had our awesome sponsors getting into the wrestling world. I know they now just posted some stuff with Penn State and some of the guys there. George Mason also will be getting one of those infinity ropes. West Virginia and WCAP as well. Make sure that any of your schools or any of your programs are using our discount codes, not just on Poseidon Strength, but also on Adidas Wrestling when you guys are getting gear for your teams, because it obviously helps. But yeah, if you guys have something to promote, if you're watching, listening, send us a DM. We will more than happy to throw a link down below the video, promote it on the show. We want to promote wrestling. We want to make sure that we are hyping up these awesome programs. that are in the Big Ten as well as out. But we appreciate you guys watching and listening, and we'll see you next week when we dig into more awesome wrestling headlines. Peace.